the smell of spices in the marketplace.
Mm.
Is it my turn or
Literal
your
flavor.
turn?
What did I just do? I did bag of beans
Oh, yes, it's my
because I
turn.
want things to
Okay.
get weird sometimes.
So this is what I came up with. Flame tongue. I
Ooh.
love I one of my favorite, well, I'm a big Star Wars fan. You can see my shirt. So I always want to have a lightsaber. So and I've been taking combat, stage combat. So we've been doing a lot of stuff with like quarterstaff and that sort of thing. And my instructor's always like, this isn't a lightsaber. We are not Jedi. I said, says you. But because what I'm going to do with this after I leave this class is all about swinging my lightsabers, and I have
Mm.
a collection. So the actual flavor of the light is great, but get an extra 2d6 fire damage. That's not too shabby.
Hmm.
And I do like that. You can have it in different varieties. So if you are that swashbuckler, you can have your rapier. If you want to be like, that kind of, you know, scimitar wielding guy, you can totally do that too. And if you're a short dude and you got a short sword, no problemo. You can have the gnome have just light up the night. Plus, it's a light source. And I always liked Beric in Game of Thrones. I just
Yes.
loved
Yes.
that character, and it evokes that kind of, like, well, maybe we'll die this time, and it
Hmm.
gives people an idea of like, and I think that's for me what I do is I start with a character that I like, and then the character evolves, or I mash two characters together. What if Barrick and Luke Skywalker, got together? And then like, what I mean? Like, what if they were two aspects of the same? And then from there, a third character sprouts. And
Hmm.
so anything I can do to give my player characters uh, a direction, you know. So that's why I picked that.
I mean, it's instant epicness, right? Your sword is on fire. And it kind of implies that there's going to be, like already there's the ice and the lightning version of that in my mind, right? Just like build one of those for each poison type. Each damage type of a poison is a good one.
It's a really good
And
one.
when 2d8, I mean, if I'm a fighter, right, and I can action surge and I got 4 attacks, now all of a sudden I'm not feeling like I'm not at parity with the wizard anymore, right?
Hmm.
Yeah. So it's funny. I would argue that the Sunblade is the real lightsaber of the
Oh, there you
uh,
go.
of the tier 2 magic items. And yeah, very, very similar idea of like it's just a hilt, right? And then this beam of energy comes out of it. You're doing radiant damage, but again, that implies there's like the dark sunblade is out there in the universe somewhere.
I like the idea of radiant damage. Especially if you're gonna be like a lawful good character or a good character, and you're gonna
Mm-hmm.
be going up against like the baddies down in the abyss. You want to be able to just like, just cut a swath through them. And you're gonna get a reputation, right? So like the bad guys are gonna be like, oh my God, there's this guy who has a radiant sword. It's like you got to watch out for this guy. So like maybe you develop a reputation among the enemy of having that special weapon. It gives you a notoriety. Yeah.
Yeah, because it's one thing to go into the Underdark with like some torches or maybe like a lantern, but like you're bringing the light of the sun with you deep into the earth. Like that right away makes you a very different kind of character.
Hmm.
Yeah, and you
Exactly.
were, wield that against something with sunlight sensitivity or, stabbing in the chest of a vampire. What does that look like? There's some real interesting moments that come out of that.
Yeah, and some of these big guys that they start to meet at level 2 or tier 2, I should say, which if we didn't explain as levels like 5 through 10, and eventually anyway, is that there's a lot of them that have resistances. Like some of them have immunities. So like, and radiant is one of the few things that they don't usually, especially like the under dark, like you said, the underdark and the abyss.
Yeah, as far as like zooming out for a second, I think a lot of newer dungeon masters are well, there's two camps, right? There's those who are overeager and hand out a million magic items, and then can't figure out how to challenge their players anymore. And then there are people who've done a little homework and have heard those stories and are very reticent to hand out magic items. And if you don't hand out some form of magic weapons to your martial characters at your table, right around level 5, level 6, they're going to start to feel bad because there's going to be a lot of stuff that they can't touch.
They can't hit it.
They can't hit it. There's a lot of things that are
Yeah.
either resistant or straight up immune to piercing,
Conventional attacks.
slashing, bludgeoning, and you gotta have a little extra chutzpah, even if it's a smoking sword, right? It just looks cool. It's not even +1. Like it's magical. Now it ignores those resistances or immunities. Because
Right. Yeah.
your martial classes are going to feel a little less special when the wizard's doing crazy stuff and never seems to be running out of spell slots anymore. So you gotta, we're talking about game balance. It's not about parity with the monsters. It's about parity with everybody else at the table. So everyone's having roughly the same amount of fun. People get different moments to shine, but